Good evening or good afternoon, Hugh. This is the
Ah,
late calling Charles. I apologize. It was all about to start, Hugh, and then suddenly my machine went locking and it turned
don't
off.
worry, these things happen. These things
So I'm so
happen.
apologetic. We
Don't
last
worry.
we last spoke a frightening long time ago in my days at the York Evening Press, Hugh, when you were playing. I think probably it was at Fibbers. I think you were playing at the time, and
That's
we
all right. Well, me and Graham have just been having an Acheborn chat,
ah.
which is good. Yeah.
And Charles, you love Alan Ayckbourn. You love
I,
him.
of course, indeed, I do. He shares my birthday, Hugh, so I'm a bit biased on this.
Oh, wow, that's great.
I mean, I don't mean I'm Alan's age because he's obviously vintage 80s, but yeah, no, we
Yeah.
share April the 12th is our shared birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, Hugh, good evening and welcome. And you're on tour at the moment. Here in Yorkshire, you've just played at Home Firth Picture Dome, of course, November 7. And up in the Northeast, you're going to be playing at Digital in Newcastle. Not a venue I know. Is it somewhere you've played before?
I don't think so. The reason being about why it's there is because we were originally booked into the Riverside,
Yeah.
but that closed down. So we had to find somewhere to move it to
Mm.
pretty quickly, and we ended up at the Digital. But I'm not sure. I don't know whether it's a nice place to go to if you're a member of the audience. But
Yeah.
so
It's a
I
very
just
obviously it's a very modern sounding name. So who knows?
yeah, it sounds quite
Sounds a
modern.
brand new venue, doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't know what to expect really when I
No.
go up there.
How did it go, Hugh, at the Home Firth Picture Dome?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, no, the we've done the first week. That's three last week,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's getting there. I mean, it's a very this Nosferatu album is very demanding from
Mm.
the musically and vocally. Not just me, but all three of us. You know, Pat on the bass and Windsor on drums. It really is quite a thing to take on, because when it was recorded, I mean, it was never recorded with mind to playing live. So there
No.
were,
No.
if you had about 30 people on stage, you might be able to get it close to what it really,
So you're
to
doing it with
get
one
everything.
tenth of that, Hugh.
Yeah, we're doing it with a tenth of the, but I mean, it still sounds pretty full, and we spend a lot
Yeah.
of time on the arrangements, making sure all the important things are covered, and it's a pretty good approximation of the record. So I'm quite happy with the way it's sounding.
So what attracted you to revisiting Nosferatu?
Well, I mean, this week it's the 46th anniversary since it was
Oh,
released.
46.
It's
Mm.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
and I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep performing
Mm.
live. You know, I've got to be realistic. It's okay at the moment, but anything
Yeah. Of
can happen health-wise
course.
or whatever. Suddenly you can't pick up a guitar, or your
Yeah.
fingers are shaking,
Yeah.
or you get cramps, or you have a heart attack, or God knows, or I lose my
Mm.
voice.
Mm.
You just cannot tell. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I better do it now while everything's working,
Yeah. Yeah.
because if I wait for the 50th, it might be too late, it might
Yeah.
be a bridge too
Yeah.
far. So that's why it's now.
Graham, over to you.
Yeah, Nosferatu is such a great album. It's got so much going on in quite short tracks, and it doesn't sound anything like this is like 79. It doesn't sound anything like punk or post-punk. It doesn't sound anything like The Clash. It's got more in common with like David Bowie's Low or early Ultravox or something like that. It
Oh, that's
so it sounds
interesting.
it
Yeah.
sounds really modern now. It still sounds like it could have been done recently.
Great. Well, I'm glad you picked up on that. Well, we've been dipping into it the last few years, and whenever we dip into it on a live show and put one in, immediately it goes down a storm,
Mm.
and then afterwards, a lot of people come up and say, "What was that weird track that you played?"
Yeah.
And they want to know where it came from, and they write it down, and they go off and listen to it. So I agree with you. It's sounding quite current, and so I've got no qualms about playing a 46-year-old album, especially if it was before its time when it was
Oh
done.
yeah.
Well,
That album will always be before its time.
it had, of course, the track "Irate Caterpillar" on there, So
Yeah, well, that's a real bastard for me, because it's the playing is ridiculous, and and I've got to recite that poem as well at the same time. So
oh
it's
yes.
a nightmare. It's it's getting there. I mean, it's getting better and better, but
Mm.
I don't know if I'll ever fully master it. Who knows?
I mean,
Well,
Nosferatu obviously. Go on, Graham.
yeah,
I'll come back to my
the
point.
original
Go
album
on.
had Robert Williams, the drummer, and Captain Beefheart,
Mm.
the Magic Band, and it's got members of Devo and Frank Zappa's Modes of Invention, Ian Dury, even The Clash. So there's a lot of people been involved with the original album, and now there's only three of you doing it. So it's quite a big task.
Yeah, their involvements purely came just fortuitously. Robert knew Ian Underwood, so he thought it'd be a great idea to invite him to play on a couple of the tracks, which he did, and we both knew the Devo boys, the Mothersbaugh brothers, so that
Mhm.
was easy to get them to finish that track off, and then with Wrong Way Round, the fairground based environment song, I wanted a fairground barker, and so didn't know Ian at all, but I knew how to get hold of him. But I had great admiration for what he did. So I just got in touch, and he immediately accepted, the invitation. So he came down, and I'm trying to explain to him what sort of thing I wanted, a fairground barker, and he got it immediately because that's he was familiar with all that old English grotesque Victorianism and Victoriana,
Mm.
and he did it in one take, and he was in and out. He'd gone half an hour later. He'd gone. He was only in the studio for half an hour. And then when we were doing that, that was in central London when we were finishing it off, and then we bumped into the Clash in the loos. They were upstairs mixing a new album. So we thought it would be good fun to get them in for Puppets backing vocals.
Hugh, Nosferatu, of course, famous film, and it's my kind of clumsy link here to your own interest in films, which the Mr. DeMille FM podcast, with your passion for films, it says here, interviews, episodes on careers and themes, guests including Debbie Harry, Brian Eno, Sir David Putnam. Is that, and forgive me for not knowing the answer to this, is that an ongoing podcast series then, Hugh?
Sure. We're up to about 150 episodes now, and there's
Fantastic.
been but now we're doing one a month. We used to do two a month, but I can't with my schedule. I can't keep that up. So we're doing about one a month. Yeah, it's current. I'm currently working on a show about George Peppard's career,
Oh, right.
who
Excellent.
I think is a bit undervalued.
Yes, I think that would be a fair assessment. I mean, of course, you've done acting as well yourself, so you are the polymath figure, of course. Written books as well, but the main driving force still the music, or do you love having this range of things that you do, Hugh?
Yeah, no, nothing's really takes precedence over anything else. But the thing is with music, I've got to do it. I can't really mix. I can't massage my music schedule to fit the other things, whereas the other things I can massage to fit the music schedule.
Sure.
So the music state creates the skeleton of my diary, and then I can fit the other things in around that.
Sure. Graham?
Yeah, of course, the album cover of Nosferatu, it's got a picture from the F.W. Murnau film from 1922, the original Nosferatu. Have you seen the Robert Eggers film from last year, the latest Nosferatu, Hugh?
Not yet.
Okay. I won't spoil it for you then. But
Yeah.
it is in black and white, which is always a good start, I think.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely worth seeing.
Novelist as well, of course, Hugh. I think, is it three novels now?
Three published. I've just finished a noir western a
Now
Western
that sounds
thriller.
intriguing. That sounds potentially a film
Yeah,
as well.
I think it's the best thing I've ever done.
So I mean, can you have you got a publisher you can take that to, or
No,
how does it
I'm
work?
just I've got some people looking at it,
Yeah.
but it's early days yet for what's going to happen to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I mean, obviously the creative craft of songwriting, lyrics that go with that, etc. But as a discipline, writing novels, very much a solo enterprise, obviously, where it's music, shared experience, invariably.
Well, not
Do you,
really a shared
here we
experience.
go. Right, go on, tell me.
Because no, me, I mean, the creating of music, the writing, and recording, it's not I just do it with my engineer. That it's just the two of us. We
Yeah.
find we understand each other very very well, and we can move ahead very fast without any other musicians. So the only time I work really with musicians, and I don't know whether this is sad to say this, is when I'm playing live, when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
interpret what I've recorded. But I find the recording process much more exciting with just the two of us. It's great. It's a bit like the way we did Nosferatu, in the
Mm.
sense that I never finish a song before I go in the studio. I've just got the rough idea for a song,
Yeah.
and I might have a lyrical idea or I might not, but I got a rough musical starting point, and
Mm.
I just mess around with it, and after a while, suddenly there's a framework, and suddenly there's a voice, a verse, and a chorus, or there's an overall idea, or I've suddenly got a lyric idea. And at the end of the day, it's fascinating. You listen to what you've done, and you go, "Wow, I had no idea that idea would turn out like this." And that's a great way to write. I've found, but I can't do that in a room with other musicians. I've got to because you get an idea for a drum thing or a bass or something. By the time you've explained it to somebody, you could have done it. Not that I play drums, but we do a
No.
lot of drum programming.
I mean, is that? I mean,
Realistic.
it's 10 solo albums, 10 Stranglers albums, so they're actually now equal number of studio albums by the two projects, as it were. I mean, for
Yeah.
you as a songwriting experience, are you saying it's more fulfilling the way that you do it now than when you would have worked with fellow musicians in the Stranglers?
Well, I would say that the recording process is much, much, much different, very different, and very much more exciting. Because
Yeah,
back in those days, the record you were signed to a record label, the record company booked us a studio
yeah.
for a certain number of days, and that's the time you had to make the record. There was never a question of going over budget, or over schedule like you do
Mm.
with films and things. That wouldn't occur. You had to get it done. So
Yeah,
in order to do that, you had to have everything mapped out exactly before you went in, and it ended up becoming like putting it together a jigsaw puzzle.
yeah.
And it wasn't very creative. There was very little room for creative maneuver because of the time consideration.
And sometimes, if my recollection, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I seem to recall maybe was there a year when Stranglers brought out two albums in one year? So very intense.
Exactly. And occasionally then we got a bit of leeway. We had a little bit of free time, so we jammed something together. But the only one where we really did a bit of creative writing while we were recording was for Men in Black, and
Mm.
that remains the one that I have most satisfaction with, because
Mm.
it really was exploring and making the most of the studio as a tool, as a creative tool, and No More Heroes album and Radis albums. We just went in and did it by numbers, because the songs were already written and arranged and everything before we even got set foot inside the studio. So those recordings were very bit boring. But these the ones I do now are great. I'm about halfway through a new album now, and it's fascinating what's coming out. It's interesting.
Last one was Moments of Madness, wasn't it? 2022.
Yes.
Yeah. So when might you have a new album ready? Or actually, is it maybe it's got the freedom not to be under pressure as to when that would be?
Well, normally it ends up about every 4 years, and it should really, if you look at the schedule of what's happened before, people would be expecting it next year. But I'm going to wait
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I want to make sure that it might be the last album I ever make. Who
Mm,
knows?
mm,
So I want to make sure I give it its best shot, and
mm.
so I don't want to rush it. So I think it's going to be later than 26.
Yeah. Graham.
Yeah, I really liked Moments of Madness because it's got this sort of energy and attitude and simplicity of a younger man. You couldn't guess what age you were, Hugh, by listening to that album.
Well, a lot of it's to do with this recording process. I
Mm.
get very energized when I'm in the studio, and so the song has got written and recorded in a very energized situation. So that's probably down to that.
Mm.
Yeah, in the studio, it sounds like you're like a film director making a film where the cast is just you, and it's much easier film to make.
Yeah, it's very, and that way it's very easy
Mm,
because you
mm,
don't have to sit there explaining something to someone. I'd like it like this. You go, no, I'll do it, and then you'll see what I mean. And it is the ultimate freedom of expression, isn't it? It's just
mm, mm.
just me, my engineer, and the tape, the virtual tape. Whereas with a painter, it's you, the brush, and then the canvas. Well, this is me, the engineer, and then and then it gets recorded. So it's a very similar
Mm.
sort of. It cuts out all the. You get exactly what you want as well.
Mm.
Mm.
In 2008, just picking up on the filmmaking point, in 2008, to accompany the Blueprint album, Hugh, you made the film to go with that, partly because you felt that the quality of DVDs that bands and musicians put out maybe not as good as it could have been. More to the point, it's been suggested that it was influenced by Jean-Luc Godard and Norman Jewison, so two great names to influence you. Tell me how that came about. The Blueprint film came about, Hugh.
Well, we were working with Liam Watson over in
Yeah.
his really strange studios in East London called Toe Rag Studios, and
Mm.
he'd just come off of the back of doing Elephant with the White Stripes, so he
Oh
was
yes.
full of praise. He was lauded,
Yeah.
and I was very lucky to get the chance to work with him, and so we went over there, me and Kaz and Chris, my band at the time.
Mm.
And he had his own little world over there. It was his own unique, singular environment where he made this music, and it just seemed like a perfect thing to investigate with a camera. So we
Yeah.
we were doing fly on the wall stuff. It was so odd, this
Yeah.
place, uh, and
Toe
what he
Rag's a
got.
great name, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
and what he got up to, and he came in every day with a white lab coat on, like he was a
oh, really?
chemist or something. Yeah, it was incredible. And he had these friends of his that used to drop by, these very unusual people used to drop by to say hello to him. And
It sounds like the factory with Andy Warhol.
it was a bit like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we started getting took a camera along, started filming things, and then
Mm.
hey, why don't we put this together and put it into a film about the making of the album?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. You've worked with such producers as Tony Visconti, of course, famous for working with Bowie in the early days. Steve Albini worked with Wedding Present and many others. Um, of producers that you've worked with, and I just used two examples there, very contrasting producers. How much do they play a part now with the work that you do, and how much do they play a part in the past, and how much do you see them as a positive influence, and how much do you see them as kind of somehow interruptive?
Oh yeah, well, I've been very lucky to have the opportunity to work with these people like Liam,
Mm,
and every person that you work with, I'm interested in what they do, so I'm looking at what they do and how they approach it, and and they've got tricks as well. They've got their
sure.
own little tricks, things they like doing, using, utilizing, and so and it's like I went to I feel it's like I was going to a record production class, like a seminar, without having to pay. I got
Yeah, yeah.
first class tuition
Mm.
in record production, and that's how it just so happened that after we did Totem and Taboo, I started making my demos, writing and recording, and
Mm.
then I was fully expecting to have to go off and record them again with
Yeah.
the musicians, just like I'd done with the ones before on Totem and Taboo.
Mm.
But this time, my manager said, "Well, these are sounding so good and sort of complete.
Mm.
I'd hate to think that we go off and re-record these and lose something of some vibe that they've got. So do you think you could finish them off, master them off,
Yeah.
complete them like the way you're doing it?" And this was for the album Monster, which ended up on Sony
Oh,
Records.
yes. Yeah.
And so I said, "Oh, okay," not expecting to hear this at all. So
Mm.
we finished it off, and it went down very well. And so when it came to Moments of Madness, and of course we were in lockdown then when we did
Oh,
Moments of
yes.
Madness, I thought, well, no point if it works, don't fix it. Let's just carry on the way we're
Sure.
going.
Sure.
But I must say that now I've thrown caution to the wind, and with the new recordings, I'm taking even less into the studio when I
Uh-huh.
record,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting what you end up with.
Mm. Mm. Graham.
Well, I was at school when I first heard Get a Grip on Yourself on John Peel Show. And then the first vinyl album I bought myself, as opposed to mum and dad get me an album, first one I bought was Rattus Norvegicus.
Mm.
So I was this big Stranglers fan, but I fell for the image at the time of like the Stranglers being dark and a
The
bit
Men in Black.
aggressive, and Hugh, you looked a bit like a guy who just escaped from jail and was on the run. It might be about to
Really?
plan a bank job. Yeah, it
Is
was all
that
was black.
right?
Everything was black, and you were skinny, and your guitar playing was a bit aggressive, and your vocals are a bit aggressive. And so I bought into the whole thing. But now when I look back, I think, wait a minute, Hugh not only either totally wrote the song or co-wrote the songs, not only played great rhythm guitar, not only played classic lead guitar solos, but he also was a frontman and did lead vocals. And I know that the band got an Ivor Novello Award for Golden Brown, but I think you've been underrated as a musician all these years.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say so. I'm always aware that there is a need to get better. So
Mm.
that's probably down to an insecurity of validity, on the guitar. I mean, I always started off as a singer. This singing has always been that's what I am. I'm really a singer, and I only really learned to play guitar as a accompaniment. Because if you can play guitar, then you don't need any other musicians. You can sing your songs and accompany yourself. So that's probably where that has all come from, this insecurity about my validity or my worth as a guitar player. And so I've always been aware that I can get better. And I'll tell you, trying to learn this Nosferatu stuff again is really driven that home. My God,
Yeah,
it's
well, the problem is you like even 1 minute of a song on Nosferatu's got about 15 things happening in a single minute.
and also you can't predict where it's going to go next. You think, oh well,
Mm.
that happened in that verse. Oh, hang on, it doesn't go like that in the second verse. Oh, hang on, it's changed timing. Oh, hang
Yeah, yeah,
on,
yeah.
it's in another key. Right, okay. So it's pretty unpredictable. Yeah. So
Well, that's part of that's his greatness, though, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's a one-off, and I won't even say I'm gonna. Someone asked me once, "Are you going to do a Nosferatu 2?" So oh, what sort of Nosferatu 3? And what would be the point of doing that? I learned something from making that record, and I'll carry it forward like all these other stuff that I've learned being in the studio with all those amazing producers. It's funny, and funnily enough, Albini and dear old Steve
Mm.
He abhorred being called a record producer. He hated it. He went mad if you called him a record producer. I am not a record producer. I'm a technician and I'm a facilitator. I do not produce records. And he had great disdain for producers who call themselves producers, like Tony. He hated what Tony Visconti did. They were
Really?
really daggers drawn because he Tony represented everything that Steve hated about record production and producers.
Well,
But I
Tony's,
mean,
yeah.
I just want to
Sorry,
say
carry
one
on.
thing, that when we were working with Steve
Mm.
in his studios in Chicago, uh, you could never get an opinion out of him about anything. I'd do three takes of the guitar, or Steve would be my bass player at the time, be doing the bass,
Mm.
and I'd be listening, and I go three takes. Well, which one do you think is best, Steve? And he'd pretend he hadn't heard you, right? Then you go, Steve. You say, what? I said, well, which take do you think? You go, interesting question. What do you think? You know, he did not want to commit himself to making any choices, and he'd end up getting quite upset about it. He'd go, listen, that's not what I'm here for. You know what you want. I can make it sound. If you want me to change the sound of it, I'll do that. But
That's the
as far
technician in
as,
him. Yeah.
yeah, you see,
Mm.
and he was always like that. It's
Was that?
quite
I mean, was
funny.
I mean, was that too open ended in some way? Was that slightly frustrating?
For me,
Mm.
no, it was actually good because it made me trust my own judgment.
Ah,
I had
yeah,
to decide, well, you've got no one to lean back on here. You've got to make the choice yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
well, if Steve hadn't been like that, there would have been two film directors on the set, you and Steve, which I
Yeah.
mean, not going to tell.
Yeah. Funnily enough, he bless him, he's a lovely guy. We got on great. And at the very last, just before the year before he died, I met up with him. He played in the UK and did a tour with Shellac.
Mm.
Mm.
And I just heard that the Damned were going to make a new record. And I said to him, hey, Steve, the Damned are going to make a new record. Do you fancy engineering it and I'll produce it? And he said, sure, Hugh, whatever you want. I'll do that with anybody with you. And I thought that was a real mark of respect because he he would he didn't like working with producers, you see. But he
Mm.
said,
Mm.
if it was you, I'd do it.
Mm.
And so I got in touch with them, but they'd already just signed a deal with guess who? Tony Visconti. So it didn't happen in the end.
um, you mentioned briefly the album Monster, and it's fascinating who to see you sing about on that album. Evil Knievel, Lou Reed, Hedy Lamarr, Benito Mussolini, Phil Silvers, Ray Harryhausen.
And my mother.
And your mother. I mean, one thinks back
Yeah.
to No More Heroes and all the names that appear on No More Heroes. But again, it's a real cross section there, Hugh. I mean, we're not talking necessarily heroes, obviously. I can't imagine Benito Mussolini was necessarily a hero. So, and the fact that the title is Monster, and you can't possibly be referring to your mother as a monster, I hope.
Well, in a way, she was to
Oh,
us
right.
kids.
Okay. I'm opening that
Well,
one up. Okay. Away you go.
two,
Go on, Hugh.
I've got two brothers and a sister, all older than me, and
Yeah.
to us, when we were kids, she was a monster
Right.
because she knew exactly what and thank God she was.
Mm.
She made us do what she wanted us to do, and had a very strict, strong moral stance, about
Mm.
stuff and justice and stuff like this,
Yeah.
and thank God she was. So
Mm.
in a way, she was a monster in her own
Mm.
way, but in a good way.
And those others that you chose on there, then, I mean, I read out the list there. Hugh, how that came about, the various different subject matters on the album.
Well, and another one you missed out is Robert Mugabe's on there in
And
there
Mugabe's on
too.
there as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Monster by any
Um,
definition. Yeah,
Another
Robert O.
monster.
What's that track called? Robert O. Robert, or I think,
Mm.
yeah.
yeah.
Um, well, the one about my mum was the first song. I went in the studio and my mother had just passed away, and I thought, what am I going to write about? I'd love to write a song about, in a tribute to her. So that's what So the Le Grand Dame was the first one to come out,
Yeah.
and it turned out so well, and I was so pleased with it that I thought, well, maybe there are a few other, maybe there's some other people that I could write songs
Mm,
about, tributes to other people,
mm, mm.
And then I started thinking, and they all started popping into my mind, So it was after that it was easy.
And it's a very diverse list there, isn't it? I mean, Phil Silvers, Harry Harryhausen, Evil Knievel, Lou Reed, Hedy Lamarr, different Benito Mussolini. So there's politicians, there's actors, there's comedy talents, special effects. In the case of I can never get his name right.
Ray Harryhausen,
That's
yeah,
him. That and Evil, the Daredevil, Knievel.
yeah.
So I mean, this is a very diverse people there that you were writing about in song.
Yeah, I guess so, but that's better than all being racing drivers
Yeah, you never see the face
or
of a racing driver. That's the thing
or
with
all
them.
musicians or
Yeah,
all, it's why
yeah.
not? They're people that are of
Mm,
interest
mm,
for one reason or another.
yeah, absolutely. Graham?
Well, I was just going to praise Hugh's guitar playing because both the rhythm and lead solos are completely distinctive in how they sound, and there's never an extra note or extra chord or extra bit of anything
That's
on anything
because
Hugh plays.
that's because my technique is so limited. I don't have I can't play the extra notes. I'm just playing. I All I'm doing is playing to my strengths. You see.
This is on the
Well,
Fender Telecaster still, is it, Hugh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And every
Yeah.
solo I do is exactly the same as the one before, except occasionally where I wig out, like we were doing Bring on the New Bars at the moment. There's a little guitar
oh
solo
yeah.
in there where the organ should be a solo. So that tends to change night to night because I can't remember what I played the night before.
Mm.
um, but most of my solo, I mean, the hanging around solo is 98% the same as it was last night and it will be tomorrow night, so and it's only because of my limit. I'm a limited guitar player.
But there's no
Yeah,
harm
well,
in there's no harm in
I
that.
would say to that, if only all guitar players had your limitations, it'd be better.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me that less notes the better,
Yeah.
and these twiddly I when I first left the Stranglers I didn't have any faith in my guitar playing. And I
Mm.
thought, come on, let's do something different. You've been doing the bloody guitar and singing. Well, singing's my main thing. I'm going to become a singer. I'll get some other people to play the guitar. And I got two twiddly guitarists and who could play a million notes a second. And really, it didn't really do what the music I was doing any favors. There were
Mm.
certain parts of it that worked, but not all the time. It gets a bit tiresome, having twiddly guitar,
Oh,
millions of
there's
notes
no
on every.
flab. There's no flab anything you do, Hugh, either solo
Mm.
or with the Stranglers.
Mm.
It's fat free.
Well, and as I am, I'm very skinny, and it's good for my health.
Yeah.
And I don't like eating fat. The only fat I can eat is bacon fat when it's been really crisply done, so
Ah, yes.
it's
Yeah.
been cooked, the life's been cooked out of it. Then I'll eat
Mm.
that, but not a lot of it. Not a lot of it. I cut all the fat off all my. I don't like those salami sausages from Italy, or Spain. I very rarely eat those because they're full of
Ah,
fat.
No chorizo. No
no.
No,
chorizo.
well, the
You,
occasional bit in
yeah.
a nice Spanish soup is great, but very rarely.
Hugh, we're
Very
coming
rarely.
to the last sort of minutes. We're never quite sure when this cuts out, and if it does cut out, we're there to saying thank you.
I
I'm
understand.
going to say thank you so much now, but I've got one last thing I do want to ask you in case it doesn't get cut out first, which is doing the 2016 this time it's personal album with John Cooper Clarke, another one of my great heroes, and this is one where you sort of went back and looked back at favorite American and British songs from your youth. That must have been a fun project to do with him.
Oh, it's fabulous because he's got a great knowledge of he's got an amazing film knowledge for start. One
Yes.
thing, he loves
Mm,
cinema.
mm,
Because
Mm.
when he was doing the heroin, he used to just slide back and watch films,
yeah.
all day
Mm,
long. So
mm,
he's got an amazing and he's got an amazing recall of the knowledge. So if I talk about films with him, we suddenly get into all these really, really detailed things that we remember from films that we've seen, and he
yeah.
remembers all sorts of things. And he's also got an encyclopedic knowledge of rock music. It's incredible. So he's a very, very learned man, and he's got a very sharp, lovely sense of warm humour too, which endears me to him. And we love each other, you know. He's a great guy, and we had great fun working on that together.
Wonderful.
He
Graham,
once
last word for
kissed me
you.
on the. He once John Clark once kissed me on the neck backstage at York, and I thought
Really?
it was I thought it was Nosferatu.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Splendid. So thank you so much, as I say, Hugh, for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you,
What a
guys.
pleasure and a delight for us.
Thanks, Hugh.
And
Thanks,
splendid. Thank you
both of
so
you.
much for your
It'd be
time.
great. Thank you.
Cheers, and Hugh.
Take
All the
care.
best. Thanks very much.
You've been listening to the podcast Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Your hosts were Graham Chalmers and Charles Hutchinson. This was a Baltic Sub production.